Our next speaker for the afternoon is Melinee Leather. And Melinee is a beef producer from Central Queensland who's passionate about sustainable grass-fed beef production and the future of farming families in Australia. She is a strong advocate for women working in the beef industry and believes women can play a central role in communicating the value of beef production in feeding the world. Melinee has worked in the beef industry for 30 years in partnership with her husband Robert. Their family beef cattle enterprise covers an area of 35,000 acres where they run 4,000 head of beef over 2 properties. Barfield Station breeds and finishes cattle for the organic, EU and grasslands markets, and their other property, 4 Mile, is a breeding operation certified EU and grasslands, and both properties are grazing BMP accredited. Melinee has 11 years of experience with industry organisations, and her current industry positions include Chairperson for the Farming Systems Committee for National Farmers Federation, a member of the Sustainability Steering Group for the Red Meat Advisory Council, a member of the Environment Committee for the Cattle Council of Australia. And last night she won Farm Biosecurity Producer of the Year at the 2019 Australian Biosecurity Awards in Canberra. So congratulations, Melinee.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you, Sarah, for your introduction, and thank you to the organisers of today. Your contribution to advancing the status of women worldwide is to be commended. As I look around the room, I feel confident that the theme for International Women's Day, Balance for Better, is making traction, and we will continue to see women advance and thrive. The amazing lineup of speakers at this event is testament to that. Today, we are celebrating the contribution women make to the agricultural sector, and I am constantly in awe of what a great contribution that is. In the beef industry, I see it as much about families as it is about the business. And the women are often the nucleus and critical influence in these families. In my sector, I frequently see husbands, wives, daughters and sons working side by side on the property, sharing the same jobs on an equal footing. It's also heartening to see the ratio of female CEOs, board members and industry leaders is ever increasing. Gender diversity needs to be enhanced, as without it, our business and industry will fail to deliver optimal outcomes. I hope today that by sharing my personal journey about living and working in the beef industry, and by speaking about the opportunities I see for the industry and our business in the future, that I too will contribute to advancing the status of women. Today, I will focus on the importance of family, the benefit of developing a plan to improve what you have, and the value of contributing to the community and your industry. And finally, what our opportunities for the future are. 2018 marked 30 years of my involvement with the beef industry. And more importantly, my husband and I celebrated 30 years of marriage. During those 30 years, I've experienced many joys, a few heartaches, and I have learnt that one must have great patience and perseverance to succeed in the beef industry. I have also learnt to never rest on your laurels, as you can be sure droughts will follow good seasons, markets and interest rates will fluctuate, governments will regulate, and there will be threats to our biosecurity. Our consumers will expect us to operate to the highest standards of environmental sustainability and animal welfare. And as we have just witnessed in northwest Queensland, Mother Nature will unleash her fury upon us at times. What a devastating blow this event has been to everyone involved, and we can only hope and pray that everyone in the north can get through this truly challenging time. But all of these challenges are often balanced with many benefits, and I also greatly appreciate what a fantastic environment it can be to raise a family. What a wonderful lifestyle. I remember as a new bride, I was blissfully thinking of all the positives of my new rural life: a meaningful career, work-life balance, healthy lifestyle, and housing security. Or so I thought, until my husband brought me to our first home It was a 2-storey timber house with 1 tap, no hot water, no telephone, no stove, and to top it all off, an outhouse out the back. It had quite large cracks in between the floorboards and tongue and groove walls. It was freezing in winter and hot in summer. But as Rob said, it was ideal for drying grass seed, which is exactly what I was met with when he took me home to this very old house that leaned precariously to one side. The floor was covered knee-deep in grass seed. My husband, being the eternal optimist, simply replied to my look of horror by saying, "She'll be right. As soon as it's dry, we'll just bag it all up and it'll be as good as new." Sort of like polishing the floors. I couldn't quite see it, but anyway. After the shock of the house and the arrival of 3 children in 3 years, I realised this was to be just the beginning of our very exciting journey. The birth of our son Adam was quickly followed by the arrival of his sisters Emma and Nicole. While Adam pursued a career in the family business, both girls have gone into the health industry. Adam lives with his wife Chloe and 2 children on the 4 Mile property. Emma completed a dual degree in nursing and paramedics and now lives with her husband Logan and their 2 children at Barfield, where they breed free-range heritage pigs. Nicole, our youngest daughter, is a doctor in Brisbane and in her 2nd year of physician training. Ultimately, a secure future for our children and now our grandchildren are what drives us to do what we do. We are deeply passionate about the beef industry and appreciate the strong family bonds and relationships underpin the success of any family business. My husband Robert had bought 2 small blocks prior to our marriage in 1988, which were to be the stepping stones for the business we run today. Soon after we were married, we sold one and bought the 4 Mile in partnership with Robert's parents. Our son Adam and his wife Chloe live on and manage the 4 Mile, making their children Ava and Jackson the 4th generation on this property. We went on to buy 2 more properties, Carlisle near Theodore and Alameda near the 4 Mile. Along with our original home block, we now had 5 separate properties in the North Burnett and Dawson Valley. The period between the late 80s and the early 2000s was really a time of just surviving due to the record high interest rates. We were paying in excess of 18% interest on our borrowings. Property improvements were limited and any money made from cattle went straight back into the business. During this time, Rob and I looked for supplementary income and secured an order through Queensland Rail. Rob ended up cutting sleepers for around 10 years and subsequently our 3 children practically grew up in the sleeper dump. Rob also cut tomato stakes and fence posts and we sold logs off our 4 Mile property. We grew and headed grass seed which was sold to Saudi Arabia and even established a vineyard with 7 acres of wine grapes for about 7 years. This property now grows hay for our weaners. We learnt to appreciate that sometimes we would need to diversify in order to survive in business. Over the last 30 years, our passion has always been in the beef cattle sector, and our business plan has focused on building cattle numbers to provide cash flow for future purchases. During the drought of the 90s and the early 2000s, this was becoming increasingly difficult. In October 2009, we had hit the wall and were facing huge forced sales due to the prolonged drought and a devastating bushfire through our 4 Mile property. Fortunately, through the tenacity of Rob, we secured a long-term adjustment block and ideally situated between the 4 Mile and our finishing block, Carlisle. This gave us the opportunity we needed to allow the 4 Mile to recover and get back to full production and increase our cattle numbers in preparation for another purchase. Our business is very particular about business and strategic planning. Even during times when we thought we had a lucky break, it's always been more about plans coming to fruition. As a family, we had and continue to have a very definite vision of where we want our business to head. This included consolidating our smaller holdings and broadening our production into the organic market. 4 years ago, the opportunity we'd been planning and waiting for presented itself when Barfield Station came onto the market. It offered us a larger scale finishing operation and was suitable to transition to certified organic. We didn't hesitate and moved quickly, knowing that we were buying quality country that had the potential for further improvements. Following the purchase, 3 of our smaller holdings were put on the market and subsequently sold, leaving us with the 3 properties we have today. Having seen this particular plan work out, though, didn't lull us into a false sense of security. In September 2013, we had already had a devastating reminder that plans don't always work out like you imagine. Rob, Adam and I had been working on our business plan at the start of the year and looking at our risks, talking about if one of us were to become sick or injured, how would we manage this? Our solution was there were 3 of us, and chances were that only one of us would get sick or injured, so there would be 2 to manage and operate the business as usual. But what we didn't plan on was the 2 of us getting seriously injured exactly 1 week apart and both needing an extended hospital stay. Adam was falling timber on the 4 Mile and was crushed by a rolling log, resulting in a badly fractured leg and compartment syndrome. The doctors told us this would be at least 2 years before he fully recovered. We were shocked at his injuries, but so grateful that he was alive. A week later, Rob was cutting timber on the saw bench to finish off an order that Adam had been working on at the time of his accident, when a piece of wood flew off the saw blade and lodged in his arm. It had grazed his chest just near his heart. With 8 surgeries between them, I ended up being the last man standing. This scenario was definitely not part of the plan, but one I was left to manage. We now look at our planning with fresh eyes and know you generally need more than one backup plan. We also took a very close look at our safety management systems, and workplace health and safety now sits very high on our planning table. Along with the importance of family and business planning, giving back to the community and contributing to our industry and society is central to our life values. We believe your drive to build a business must be balanced with strong family and community involvement. Over the years, we've held numerous positions on local committees and clubs, and I know that we are definitely not alone in this. I don't think there would be many people from rural communities that don't volunteer for a job with the local show society, school P&C and rural fire brigade. Not only are they great social occasions, they are often a good way to relieve the pressures of the day. The beauty of contributing to society is that you don't have to do anything special. I've learnt that anyone with enough enthusiasm can make a difference. It was this realisation that led Rob and I into training disengaged students from a local high school. Over the years, we have taken around 50 students who didn't conform to mainstream schooling and gave them an opportunity to learn skills in agriculture. While this experience was at times extremely challenging, it was also highly rewarding, as we were able to make a difference to many kids by allowing them to escape from their often violent and abusive lives and teach them skills to gain full-time employment. We appreciate the next generation is where our future lies, and it is up to all of us to educate, nurture, and encourage their involvement. And what better industry is there to be involved in? And I know we did the poll earlier, and I think nearly everyone is involved in agriculture, was that right? I think nearly the whole room, but just who else is in the beef industry? I think there was quite a large group on this side, yeah. So I just want to talk about what the opportunities of the beef industry are, and I just want to set the scene. Where does Australia sit on the world stage? Actually, we only have a very modest proportion of the global beef herd, sitting at just 3% or 27 million head. But oddly, we are positioned as one of the largest exporters of beef in the world. In 2015, we sat at number 1, but latest figures have us third behind India and Brazil. We export 70% of our product at a value of over $12.7 billion to more than 100 different countries. The remaining 30% goes into the domestic market, making it our largest single market, with consumption of around 27.6 kilos of beef for every person in Australia. These figures, along with the fact that the red meat industry alone directly employs just over 200,000 people, makes us a very valuable contributor to Australia's economy. For those of us that work in this industry, these statistics come with a responsibility for us to continually strive for best practice. We must understand not only the importance for us to look after our people, environment and animals, but also the importance of the consumers of our beef to our business. Increasingly, consumers want to know where and how their beef is produced. They actively seek out more information than ever before, making them better informed, and they demand transparency. It would be foolish for us to ignore these facts, so therefore we must step up and learn how we will manage this. We must continually educate ourselves, embrace new and emerging technologies, and constantly adapt to changes in climate, resources, and market conditions. The Australian Beef Sustainability Framework, which was launched in 2017 and developed by the Australian beef industry, is one such initiative that can help us to guide and track performance on farm and through the value chain to ensure we continue to be recognised as global leaders in sustainable beef production. Our focus will need to align with environmental, welfare, social and economic practices. We then must make the industry practice changes needed to keep pace with the expectations of the modern world to ensure the continual growth and profitability of our businesses. To our credit, Australia is already a global leader in sustainability, animal welfare and food safety. But having the perception that we have these qualities is one thing. We also need to ensure that we can prove it. Systems that will measure and monitor will provide the scope to make these claims and ensure transparency. In addition, we should expect market opportunities for market rewards. In my opinion, Queensland is already leading the way with grazing BMP, and I would urge all beef producers to contact AgForce or DAF for information on how you could be involved in this program. It's often overwhelming when we think of all the things we must consider when we're involved in this industry, and I have touched on such a small portion. The most valuable thing we can and should do is align ourselves with all the key players. Groups including our state farming organisations such as AgForce and our peak industry councils such as Cattle Council Australia are vital for developing policy and lobbying governments for the best interests of all Australian cattle producers. It is vital that we provide our input and support to these organisations. Without these organisations, we can't expect to get the support and the outcomes we need for a thriving industry. I really commend the work that people like Georgie are doing. As I've said before, it takes great patience and perseverance to be part of the beef industry. Nothing moves quickly when you're dealing with policymakers and government. And just when you think you've had a win there will be a change of government and the process often needs to start again. We have many organisations that do research and development and provide extension to our industry, and we must ensure that we utilise what is available. Tools such as Rural Resources Online created by Bridget are a fabulous resource to find relevant information. So it was great to get your presentation today, Bridget. But as we're here today enjoying an event organised by DAF, I'm going to take the opportunity to commend their significant contribution to the agricultural sector. Our business takes full advantage of the knowledge and expertise provided by our local beef extension officers in areas including grazing land management, animal nutrition and production, just to name a few. And of course their work extends to all areas of agriculture. So regardless of what your industry is, there will be help available. Today, I've tried to highlight through my personal experiences the importance of family, the value of planning, and the rewards of contributing to society and industry. So my challenge to you, my call to action to everyone here today, is to continually strive to excel in your particular field or industry. Create your own opportunities. Volunteer to lead high-profile projects and tackle the challenges that will make a difference, such as gender balance. Be prepared to share your story about the good work you're doing and be ready to invest in programs and technologies that will inform and engage our customers. We must continually look at ways to protect our reputational risk and maintain trust and support from the community. And should you ever hesitate or doubt how important your contribution to agriculture is, think about the powerful words spoken by Bill Cordingley, head of Rabobank's wholesale banking in North America, during an address to the US beef industry. The challenge is real, the opportunity is great, but inaction will be costly. Whether that challenge is climate change, consumer sentiment, or one of the many issues I've touched on today, we must be willing to face these challenges head on. Let us continue to embrace opportunities that will ensure that we remain global leaders in agriculture, providing food and fibre to the world in a sustainable manner. We must ensure that we don't burden ourselves with the consequences of inaction and continue to strive for the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinee. I think, as you said, your themes of family planning and contribution to industry and community are certainly themes that have come through all the presentations today. So thank you for that. Perhaps you might just be able to just tell us a little bit about your award last night.
Oh, yes, thank you. So, at the ABARES Outlook Conference, we had a presentation dinner last night, and Minister Littleproud was there, so that was great. And I won the Australian Producer of the Year for biosecurity.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, that was just for the work that we do on farm and the work that I've done within the industry in biosecurity. So a lot of the industry positions I've held have animal welfare and biosecurity in their remit. So it's something that I'm very passionate about. I think biosecurity, without good biosecurity, we've got nothing. You know, we don't have markets. So biosecurity pretty much underpins everything that we do.
Thank you, well said. Do we have any questions for Melinee?
Good afternoon. My name is Nikki McQueen. I'm the Federal Publicity Officer for the Isolated Children and Parents Association. I'm also the Federal Webmaster. You mentioned that we need to align ourselves with key bodies who, so that we can keep, you know, our businesses going in at the moment. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. I wasn't prepared. So I just wanted to mention our organisation, because we are a lobby group for equity of education no matter where you live, whether that's small rural schools right up to distance education. We need to keep our families in the bush and keep their kids educated, so there's an opportunity for students to go away to school and also to come back to the family property with skills that they've received while they're being educated. So I encourage people to join our organisation, check us out, check out our website, have a look at us on Facebook. We deal with everything right up, like from Sky Muster, from making sure that there is internet connectivity for everybody no matter where they live across Australia, right through to tertiary education. And yeah, so thank you, and thank you very much. I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed today. I'd like to thank my friend Deb for, you know, telling me to come along today, because I probably could have found something to do at home, as we all could have. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we have time for one more question, if we have one. Okay then.
Wouldn't like to let Melinee off the hook completely.
Don't give me a hard one, Georgie.
No, I just I wonder what you feel is sort of one of the greatest achievements you've been able to do in the change, because you've been part of a lot of change with biosecurity on farm and at industry level. What are some of the sort of the key things for you that you think you've been able to achieve through that time that were probably recognised partly in the award, but more for you personally?
Yeah.
What have been the things that have been incredibly rewarding for you during that time?
I think probably what's most rewarding for me is the fact that we're starting to take sustainability more seriously. You know, our people in business, environment, animal welfare, it underpins everything that we do in the beef industry, and I'm glad that, you know, we're getting to a point where everyone's starting to think about it. We're looking at the framework, that the sustainability framework has been a great initiative that has just highlighted what we need to do, and now we're looking for a pathway how we're actually going to do it. So, and I think, you know, these things are great for our food security, great for our community engagement, but it's great for our businesses. Like it certainly, and I think Bridget touched on it, that, you know, it's going to actually lift the performance of our businesses, and that's a great thing. We need sustainability for our families, so that's probably my big passion and the greatest thing I think the industry is headed towards. Thank
Thanks
you.
so much, Melinee.